welcome to the new studio-ish. We are in the process of building out, I don't know what to call this yet, but the garage shop. We've got some shelving up. We are beginning the organization process. We've got a few tools that have survived the flood, but the biggest priority right now, because this is below my kids' bedroom and my bedroom, is to make sure that we don't have dust infiltration coming into the house. Concrete dust is really, really fine, and so it gets everywhere. So we're gonna do everything we can to make sure that that doesn't get into the house. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cover this entire ceiling with a 6mm plastic. We're gonna staple it to the joists, add some furring strips if necessary, and really try and seal off the floor of the house. Another thing we're going to do, we've got two HVAC vents that run off of this unit that controls the back of the house. So it's a little bit warmer in here in the winter and a little bit cooler in here in the summer, which is great, but we are going to filter those vents so that we don't get stuff going up into the system from there. And then of course we're going to gasket those two closet doors so that those rooms stay dust free as well. So we're going to do everything we can to keep the house a house and not a workshop. Found these at Lowe's yesterday. Helps trap typical household and construction dust, dirt, pollen, size particles through furnace AC registers. So even though it blows out, we know that dust gets everywhere. So the goal here is to minimize that as much as possible. Done here is I have just shoved the filter up into that register, and so, you know, is it perfect? No, but it's going to help dramatically. So. What I want to do, I want to be really intentional about this. I'm going to have to grab a measuring tape because I want to try and keep it as square as possible, and that is going to be a little bit difficult. So now that we've got it kind of tightened up, we're going to essentially put it on this first floor joist and then just work our way down, trying to keep it as even and flat as possible. Yeehaw. Well, we thought about doing an insulation foam, but we figured that that would get dusty and eventually degrade and not be a permanent solution. We figured that regardless of what we ended up doing long term, this was going to have to be the first step. And so, okay, you know, if that's going to be the first step, let's do it, and then we'll know whether or not it works well enough to leave alone, or whether or not we have to keep it going. Being square is going to be a bitch. I think the slit's going to be our answer, for sure. Tuck that back there.
So how do you stop it, the slit from growing?
You tape it.
Tape it?
Yep, so it'll be a slit and tape sort of situation. So we've got our first of, I guess, 4 sections up. It's essentially a 20-foot by 20-foot section, give or take. And a couple things. It was a little bit difficult to go around the garage door opener right there, so we ended up with some slack. We're gonna put a small strip and maybe, you know, tape just to the light there so that we don't have any infiltration. We're going to go back and patch some areas once we're done with the whole ceiling, but that took about an hour and 20 minutes or so. Next we'll start on this far end And there's a lot more that we've got to wrap around. So it's going to be a little bit more tricky, I think. But we're right now trying to figure out, are we going to pull this light down, which probably is the best choice, or do we slit for it, like we did that one, but I think I want to pull it down. So that's where we're at right now. All right. As you may be able to tell, instead of trying to cut around all this garage door madness, we actually pulled the struts down. There's no weight on here when the garage door is down, so we just pulled the struts down, ran the plastic under it, and then just put the lag bolts back in the exact same hole. It's real strong. I may just for security purposes put a couple more lags in there just so that those holes aren't wallowed out, but I think that's going to be a big game changer. It made it a lot cleaner. Post that, please. Couple of things. First, in the video, you'll see that we split some pieces. We cut some plastic to go around things like the garage door opener, one of the fluorescent lights and such. And what I learned was that actually wastes time. It's a lot more effective on the plastic. It's also weirdly a time saver to just pull down the things that are in your way. So on this left hand, I'm looking out the garage, left hand side of the garage, we went around the struts that hold the garage door tracks up. We went around the garage door opener itself. We went around the fluorescent light, and then we're kind of like trying to patch stuff. And then when we kind of came back from the back of the shop to overlap, we found out it was a lot easier to just remove those items and kind of go up against them. So less penetrations on the plastic, and so that's what we did on this right hand side of the garage. We wrapped down the walls, and one thing I will say, I was really worried that this wouldn't be enough, and so with the gaskets on the doors as well as this plastic, I have not noticed even a little bit of extra dust upstairs or in the finished basement here, which has been a huge blessing because we make a lot of dust here. I swept the shop out yesterday, and it was pretty astronomical, the amount of dust, and we have not noticed any in the house, which has been really great. Got a few of these. They're, I think, $24 a piece at Home Depot. Arrow's a great staple gun brand. They have a whole thing of staples. Because, you know, staples. So these are T50 heavy duty, so they're 12 millimeters, half-inch long, and we bought, I think, 10,000 of them. We used about 2,500 or so staples in here. And then these are the vent filters for the registers. Note that these are 4x12, so we had to cut them down a little bit to fit our vents, but they're kind of a universal sort of one-size-fits-all thing. And then also Home Depot, or maybe it was Lowe's, 6 millimeter thick clear plastic. I didn't want to do the black just because I felt like that would make the room feel smaller. That's certainly a personal preference thing, so we went with clear. So with the thickness of the plastic, I also didn't feel like we ended up needing furring strips. I mentioned them early in the video. It's holding fine. If we start to notice that, you know, things are ripping down, we'll fix that. But in the 2 weeks since we've done this, I haven't noticed that. I haven't noticed any dust in the house. I actually asked my wife this morning if she had noticed any extra, and she hasn't either. So that tells me that's the real answer, that we're actually not getting any extra dust in the house, which is great. Because like I said earlier, this is my bedroom up here, and that's my kid's bedroom over over there. So we want to be really conscientious about that because I don't want them getting any sort of dust inhalation or anything like that. Overall, I am thrilled. It actually, to me, made the garage feel a little bit bigger. I'm not really sure what the mechanics of that are, but it feels great. And it looks good from the standpoint of a shop, looks better than the open ceiling. Yeah, overall, really, really happy with how it came out.